Hello, everybody. It is about 5:30 Eastern Standard Time in East Tennessee. It is Tuesday, December 2nd. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I know I did. Some visitors outside of town. So, a lot going on. We know. So, let's start. My home state of Tennessee, Tennessee District 7. If you don't know, this is Mark Green's seat. It covers a slight northwest section of Nashville metropolitan area into Williamson County, which is a large suburb. That's where Franklin is. And then it goes up north to the Kentucky border, and it goes like west quite a bit, down to southeast, so it covers a lot. So it's got some suburbs, and it's got heavy rural areas. So after the Republicans picked a Van Epps on a Trump endorsement because Trump keeps getting horrible advice on who to endorse in these things. The America First, true America First candidate was defeated, and Van Epps is there. And of course, the Republican Party did nothing to campaign. They said a month ago we have it in the bag. They didn't. They don't. Afton Ben, who is very hardcore leftist, carrying the Democratic side, has made it tight. The early vote was only 6%. Registered Democrats behind Republicans, 46-40, the rest independents. I believe that is, though, modeling because the state of Tennessee does not register by party. Okay. In order for me to vote, because I do in my county, whatever, I have to be a bona fide Republican by state party rules, having voted in several primaries that allowed me to vote for the state, our county executive committee, and things like that. So, it looks like in Williamson County, I haven't really seen any other data, so forth, following this special election, that Van Epps got enough combined vote out in that area. We'll see if that's the case. The betting markets, as of right now, and polls close in an hour and a half, give it over a 90% chance of Van Epps winning. But clearly, this is a district that Trump won by 22 points. Now, like any other special election, especially December 2nd. People are Christmas shopping, traveling. It's also slightly raining here. I don't know if it is in central Tennessee. That's 4 hours from me. But, I mean, you can't really compare it. However, 22% moves are a lot, even for specials. Okay? You're complacent. You have some parts who might have voted for your base, like the independents, the young independents, the middle working class, people who voted for Trump, who are disproportionately minority, Hispanics, particularly young black males, etc., who've kind of abandoned the Trump coalition, not happy with them, with what's going on, mostly more so with the GOP than they are with actually Trump himself. But so it looks like we'll hold on the seat. I've always thought it would be close, but I thought the numbers are just hard. I mean, if you just get people who are in the Republican organization, in the local Republican clubs, and they get some friends, and they get the core base is got to be there. So I think he'll hold on. So we'll find out soon, though. So anyway, so I just wanted to start with that. On the election front news, if you don't know, breaking today was out of Indiana House. The committee 9-0 map. It's 7-2 in Indiana. It's now going to be 9-0 coming out of the House. The problem is there's several Republicans in the state Senate don't want to go there. All right. And Pence, being from Indiana, is opposing this as well. So anything to hurt Trump and Trump in the midterms, whatever, that is Pence's agenda because he's Judas Pence, right? So that's the update on the front there. So we're moving on to basically, let's go right to Venezuela. And I want to go to Venezuela first because, I mean, let's see if I can find it there on my feed. But, George Gavin put out something today. It's basically, if you think this has to do with narco, drugs, and whatever, it has to do with resources, etc., just like weapons of mass destruction. It's amazing why we believe this, people. So, we have the seditious six, a legal order. The argument, the constitutional law argument you can make is that, these people military personnel get trained on clearly, go shoot those civilians. You are expected to refuse orders like this. Here's the problem I have with just blowing up the boats. One, we haven't seen any evidence that these boats were in fact that. How do you know that? They're not showing us evidence. I'm just going to trust the government. And I love these Republicans on the radio and everything complaining about Russiagate, intelligence community, the failures and everything, helping provoke the Ukraine war, failures there, failures leading in Afghanistan, intelligence community, failures in Iraq, intelligence community, the whole thing with Comey and Russiagate. But when it comes to this, we believe them, just take their word for it. These insiders are the same people. It's the same think tanks, Institute Studies of War, Heritage possibly, and other foreign affairs council, all these groups, right? Many of them which are funded by military organizations. Then you got the Rubio connection, right? He's got a thing because of the Cuban, because there's a Venezuela-Cuban connection as well, because Cuba receives a lot of energy and support from Venezuela. So there are all sorts of things. But when you go into something like the Trump's thing, whatever, we haven't heard anything like possible war of Venezuela. All of a sudden, it's so important. Okay? You got to question it. I mean, you can't just have blind faith in this government. And if we're going to continue this conservative populist movement forward, I don't care who's on the ticket. He's wrong. Now, Trump's being fed information. It's like he's insulated. He was a better candidate than he's been president, in my opinion, because he's insulated. Now, I love it. ICE agents are in right now in Minneapolis. Police chief's telling the cops to intervene. How great is that? I mean, that's insane. It is a federal issue. Democrats argued in court it was a federal issue when Texas and Arizona tried to do things, but I digress. Point of matter, Trump administration is doing some good things. But this is the path he doesn't want. And watch his poll numbers get worse if he takes military action in Venezuela. So back to the boats and the seditious six. Okay. I've heard some ex-military people on this opinion, and the one that I fall into the most, it's very simple, okay, is that if you don't want to put the onus on your lower-ranking people. You got to have that chain of command going. If there's going to be any kind of sedition, it should be done by the general, the admiral. Let that person bear it on there. And we've already had one admiral resign. Okay, now I look at it very simply. In the United States, you could be caught selling drugs. You get arrested, you have a trial, and you go to jail. In the United States, we don't execute people for drug deals. Hello, we just had the Honduran guy sentenced to 40 years, former president, released and pardoned by Trump this weekend. So then don't tell me this is about narco-terrorism when you take a no-narco-terrorist who's been convicted in a court of law and then pardon him. It shows complete inconsistencies and hypocrisy if narco-terrorism is your prime reason here. I think that is the facade. I think there are powers that be, and I think Rubio is really driving this. Okay, and maybe they told him this is the drug boats. But my point of the matter is, in international waters, you're blowing up boats with no evidence to us. We're just going to trust you. Now, we know Obama killed that American citizen and his son in the drone attack in the Middle East and all these things. And it just seems like these lawyers, whoever the president is, they sign off on everything in the thing. So right there, it's considered a legal order. Let the generals worry about it. Don't put it on, the NCOs, the junior commissioned officers, and to tell them to don't follow orders. That you just create chaos. Okay? But I'm just not sold on that this is an important national security interest to the United States. They're not on a list of drug trafficking. Yeah, some boats go to Mexico, then it crosses, so you got to factor in the numbers and everything. Then they're talking it's more about cocaine. Well, cocaine is not even a big number in the 100,000 deaths of overdoses a year. It's mostly fentanyl. It's just hodgepodgey and all over the place, So I'm not buying it, and you're blowing. It's just a bad precedent as well. That's what I fear. It's like Tucker Carlson. He's out on a boat in a yacht. It's a truck boat. Blow it up. You could just eliminate it. For all we know, these are political people being blown up. Okay. So I don't see it, especially in international waters. That is a bad precedent for the next president. Okay? And we know the British want nothing to do with this because they operate in the Caribbean as well. They have said they think this is illegal. So I don't know what we're doing here. You want to do it, tighten the border, continue deportations. That's what you do. Don't worry about boats that are 1,300 miles from the United States. When they get closer, action. You want to use the military to interject cartels on our border? Go ahead. Huge precedent for that. Going back to the 19th century, early 20th century, the U.S. military was on our Mexican border constantly. Do it there. And if they shoot at you, you shoot back. Engage, okay? And go after the big guys. Hey, you get these guys that they are drug boats, get them. Go up the chain, know who it is. Now, Trump said in the Oval Office, we know who you are, we know who this. Well, how do we know all this, right? Our intelligence, what do we know? What does the CIA know? How deep are they in this? So I think this whole thing is just nonsense, and Trump is being driven in the wrong direction. All right? He's not reading the replies on his social media account. He's having people post it for him on his Truth Social. He's not in tune. He's around by these advisors, and I understand a coalition is a coalition. But these neocons who are hurting the America First movement, I have yet to see any evidence that there is any national security threat from Venezuela whatsoever in the United States. Maduro has already offered full access to oil and everything. Who cares? You know, I don't understand. And then I heard the election argument. The election argument. So let me get this straight. When the Democrats took power and said Trump colluded with Russia, it was a bad election and had him elected. So if the Democrats wanted China to intervene in the United States because it was a bad election, it is not the United States' place to say what's a good election and not a good election in their country, considering we're the king of coups. Yanukovych, 2014, Maidan, 372 people dead. Okay? Just one example. Who knows with the Romanian election this past year? So the hypocrisy. And it goes against the America First agenda. America First agenda ends imperial actions like this. Okay? And what you'll get, okay, because virtually no nation is a threat to the United States in terms of military. No one is invading the United States. No one has the capability to do that. What you do is, if you think you're going to go into Venezuela, turn into democracy like you did in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? They're going to hate you. Anybody who distrusts their government and fears it wants the change to come within. So if you're not giving the people excuse to hate you, you attract them to your way of life and your model of government. Because, I want to be like them. I want to be like them. But when you keep doing these interventions, what you end up doing is saying, I don't care that my government's shitty. They're bombing us. And that's basically what we keep doing. For special interests, mostly. So I just wanted to comment on the Venezuela situation. So now, as we go on the political side of this, Richard Barris, right? This week, more America First voters than not say, and this is for the first time in his polling, because he's been polling like crazy, that Donald Trump is too focused on foreign policy and not enough on domestic. 44-40. They're busy, but not stupid. The right made the same mistake as the left. Exactly. The coalition. Republicans don't vote when Trump's not on the ticket. What they don't understand, it's a different coalition. These are independents, not Republicans. They want Trump's right-wing populism instincts. I don't know if he's a true populist, but we're not here to argue that. Okay? So, hence, they're not voting for Van Epps in this special election to keep it close. Hence, they didn't vote in these elections for the Republicans like they did Trump. Because as soon as Trump gets in, the Republican establishment and these groups start blocking his America First instincts. They put roadblocks up. They push him in the wrong direction. And these people see that. So these aren't Republican voters just not motivated by Trump. Trump put together this coalition of right-leaning independents, non-ideological, anti-establishment young people, your Joe Rogan listeners, things like that. And these young working class who've seen inflation and wars kill them. Okay? And they wanted Trump to put an end to all this. And he's not. So, hence, you get this. Now, these kind of numbers are America First. This is Republican overlap. This is not just indie American First voters. These are people like me, registered Republicans. I would be that 44. Absolutely. You want to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours? Cut off all aid, all intelligence, all money, everything. and take the Russian deal that's always been on the table. That's how he ended it. Didn't do that. He's still getting bad numbers. We'll get into that in a second. So that's what's going on. Okay? People don't just come out to vote against. This nut running in Tennessee 7 is a nut. And if she ends up upsetting the Republican and winning, she will lose in the midterm just because of sheer registration numbers. So it won't even matter the balance of power. The Republican Party's not going to do anything to codify anything with Trump, do anything good on the deficit. They're not going to do anything this year. They're going to be petrified to do anything because it's an election year. And then they're going to just campaign and fundraise. They only have 110 days scheduled in session for next year. So who cares if we have a 4-house majority or a 3-house majority? It doesn't even matter. Okay? Remember, everything Trump done is EO. It's just going to be reversed. Except for the things in the big, beautiful bill. That's it. They've done nothing. Nothing. All right. Moving on. All right. So if you don't know, Witkoff's in Moscow. So Witkoff's mission, this is from the Times of London. Witkoff's mission to Moscow could make or break peace plan without Ukraine. Okay. The Times laments that the United States did not send Rubio to negotiations in Moscow who could have defended Ukraine's interests. Okay. Of course not. Because Rubio's a neocon. And he's going to side with the Europeans and the Kiev regime on this position. Ukrainians fear that Witkoff and Kushner may succumb further to Putin's arguments during their visit to Moscow. Moreover, it is unlikely that Putin will allow them to leave empty-handed. And the problem for Ukraine is that Rubio will not be present in the room when discussing Russia's position on the peace plan. So, quick little background. Zapyrhozia region, okay? Russia is now only 20 kilometers from Zapyrhozia. After that, it's just all open around that city to the Dnieper River. So that oblast is moving in their direction. Okay, Pokrovsk is now that last little bits around the suburbs, as of today, is done. Completely done. City proper was taken a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Now the rest of it, whatever. All that's left is Slavyansk and Kramatorsk and Konstantinivka in the Donetsk. And the Donetsk is fully under Russian control. So they're there. Now, it's funny, you hear the guys like Keane and whatever going on TV. Oh, the territories they take, whatever. Even the numbers don't work. The ISW even admits that it's like 17, depending on 20,000 desertions a month from the Ukrainian military. There was an article, 300,000 cases of desertion that the Ukrainian government is trying to investigate right now. Many surrendered to the Russian forces. The Russians always have that channel open if you didn't know that. It's just a steamroller. They're getting close to collapse. 583 square kilometers have been taken, slowly and steadily. Remember, they just pummel the crap out of an area and force withdrawals. They rarely directly engage. They have to in some cities, whatever. You're not seeing, not a million casualties. The Russian army started with 425,000. It called up 300,000 reservists and then raised another 700,000. Their military stands at 1.2. So where did the other million that apparently died come from? They didn't, because it's about 300,000. That includes DPR. The body exchange ratio is 30-1. The prisoner exchange ratio is 10-1. Trump doesn't know. This is why there are no Western corporate reporters on the ground, because they want to control the narrative. So here you go. So Rubio knows this. Rubio actually said, remember, I think I brought in my last video, everything we send there in a week, it's destroyed anyway. It sounds like they have fire control, don't they? So this is what I'm talking about. So this area is the last of Donetsk, gray. They got 90+% of the entire oblast. But look what they're doing here. This is the Tri-Cities, we'll call it. Kramatorsk on the top. In the middle here, Slavyansk. And to the bottom right is Konstantinivka. Southwest of this is Pokrovsk. And you can see how they're pushing around Konstantinivka that way. And they're driving, this Chasiv Yar, this fell over the summer. And they've been moving west. And Chasiv Yar was a tough one because it was industrial. There was a canal through it and everything. So look what they do. They enter the city. They have complete air and fire control of what comes in Konstantinivka and Slavyansk and south of Kramatorsk. But clearly, they're going around. They're driving west. So they're going to move here, looks like, towards Sloviansk, surround Konstantinivka, probably come up from the northeast here, forcing a cauldron again, and then the Ukrainians will have to withdraw. In the meantime, as usual, Zelensky won't let them withdraw, and they'll just get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. Any supplies that come in will get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. It's Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Pokrovsk, all over again. But you can see, they're already doing it. Cauldron forming. And that's it. And by the way, these two cities are symbolic because after the coup, it was the protests in the Donbass started in Kramatorsk and Sloviansk that led to their declaration of independence and the first Ukraine war in 2014 that eventually led to Ukraine's defeat to the militias with Russia's backing that led to the Minsk Accords, which we now know were just a ruse to rebuild the Ukrainian army. All right? So, what are you negotiating? Russia is, let me phrase it, Russia has won, right? Just like World War II, we knew the war was over and after Kursk and D-Day, but you had to play it out. That's where we are. So the question is, so why is Russia going to give up any kind of security? One of the whole reasons is they didn't want Ukraine in NATO because they didn't want American missiles and personnel in Ukraine. There are already 7 NATO countries on their border. They don't want Ukraine, the biggest and the most closest to Moscow, on it as well, especially with the eastern third completely Russian ethnically. So they're going to allow European monitors? No. They're going to allow, no. They're going to give back territory? No. They're going to give back their buffers around Kharkiv and Sumy because that's where Ukraine would strike, Rostov-on-Don, the high rises and the civilian strikes that they like to do, especially on the oil refineries, apartment buildings. No. They're winning. Explain to me one time when the loser dictates terms in history, right? Did Poland in 1939 go, oh, here are the terms, Germany? Okay. Did Japan dictate on the USS Missouri the terms of surrender? No. So Russia's going to decide what security. They have to make the decision. I think they already know. And their channel is there. And the reason why Witkoff is there is because they're going to show him the truth on the ground and the truth of what's going on. And he's going to report directly back to Trump. Because what he's getting is gobbledygook from Rubio and the intelligence community, who are part of the globalist agenda that they have for this, for this war and what they wanted to happen in this war. And they're willing to use a couple million Ukrainian dead, wounded, or missing to carry out this agenda. So this is it. I mean, if they don't realize that Russia's going to the Dnieper, that's it. Then they'll just take it. And we're it's about to freeze over. I believe they're going to do military operations to frozen over because Ukraine is so vulnerable at this point. Remember, they're also pushing into Dnipropetrovsk, which is where Donetsk and Zapyrhozia meet, and that's not even one of the original oblasts. But they have a natural barrier with Dnieper. So whatever happens in Western Ukraine, at least they know they have that, and they have complete control, and the ethnic Russians are under their control. So I don't understand what leverage Ukraine has. The only leverage is the United States has on Ukraine. Ukraine has 0. Europeans have 0. So it's like, what are you giving up? Whatever you don't give up now, Russia's just going to take. That's it. Elections, no NATO, in their constitution, pull out of the oblasts. That was the deal offered last year, and I think it's pretty much on the table. It's probably going to be even worse now for the Ukrainians, the longer they wait. So, that's the view on the ground. But here's the deal going forward. We'll see these election nights tonight. We're in serious problems. The Republican Party just does not get it. They just don't get it. Trump won because of his America First policies, his populist policies. We got to start going after antitrust. Everything from Google to Big Pharma, okay? Stop allowing private equity and hedge funds to buy single-family houses. Increase the deportations, okay? Go after businesses for hiring to show that you're not doing this for business. You're doing it for the American citizen, okay? Start passing some meaningful legislation. I realize the Disclosure Act is going to be in place, and a regulation went through where LLCs, certain corporations, businesses, and trusts buy residences. Okay, they're going to have to disclose who the real owners of it are for. Get rid of these loopholes, like the carried interest loophole. Okay, I personally like a higher tax bracket just to lower the debt. Lower defense spending by pulling troops home. We don't need 57,000 troops in the Middle East and all these little bases all over the place. We have over 600 military bases in the world. Enough. Let the Europeans pay for it. And the Japanese, we can play a support role and, do joint exercises and have a few bases here and there for access. That's fine. But this is like imperial type stuff. That will free up money in the budget. Be efficient with that. Get the military industrial contract out of the negotiating. Stop allowing lobbying. Campaign finance reform where you only have to raise money in your own district. Or fine, even state. No corporate money. No union money. No PAC money. Individual only. So this way, these 535 morons are accountable to the people who elected them. We the people. That is the agenda going forward for 2022. Get this deficit down to $1 trillion with the growth and the reindustrialization, with the tariffs and trying to get factories here, manufacturing. That is one thing great. We need that long term because of what's going on with BRICS and the dollar and all that stuff. That's a key thing that Trump's doing. But it's going to take a while. So you got to go full bore. And the Republicans got to make a choice. And they should see it by what happens in this election result tonight. The fact that it's even close going in is that start moving these things. Sorry, Senator Cassidy. Sorry, Senator Murkowski. Sorry, Senator Daines. Okay. And all these other corrupt pieces of garbage. Okay. That think they're just Republicans who behind the scenes hate Trump. Okay. Okay. It's not about your donors, your personal career, your family. It's about we, the people. Okay, 535. We'll say 500. Maybe there are 35 decent people, few in both parties. Okay, that just do not do that. Okay, we are controlled by corporate interests. We are controlled by special interests. We are controlled by think tanks. We are controlled by an out of control administrative state. Okay, not only that, start going after these arrests and start doing accountability. Arresting Comey in D.C. district. There'll be jury nullification. Trump got like 4% of the vote there. Please. Waste of time. Be serious. Okay? Democrats didn't hold back, and they just made up crimes when Biden was in power. You guys have to start doing that. Holding people accountable. Clean up these agencies. And you have to move quick. Okay? That is it. You know how you know RFK is doing a good job? Because 1,000 bureaucrats from HHS signed a letter asking him to step down. That's how you know he's doing a good job. Crack down on these career bureaucrats, okay, who just write regulations or write laws because Congress has usurped its power and ceded it to these regulatory agencies. By the way, we're all Democrats. But if the gravy train's coming, these senators don't care. They can't wait to get rid of Trump. At least they got him controlled, locked in the Oval Office, feeding him what they want to feed him right now. Okay? But these election results see them because the gravy tray ends, boy, when you're out. So you got to make these changes now. You got to make a decision now. And you need to add a few more days on that calendar for next year and try to pass these things. And the messaging has got to be, if you don't do these things and hear the American people and stop hanging out with oligarchs, its optics is important. Okay? And stop meeting with all these pharmaceutical CEOs and look like you're really trying to change. It's nice you said that eggs came down. It's more than eggs. It's insurance premiums. It's housing costs. It's interest rates. Okay? It's credit card debt. Okay? Start doing those things. Talking about those things. That's the issue. Just go look at the data so far of the Christmas shopping. All these people are doing pay later stuff because they don't have the cash flow. They need to spread it out. That's the problem. Show that you're doing it and turn this thing around. But you can't just show you're doing it. You got to at least pass some good things, Congress. And the administration has to be in line with them and say, you got to do this, otherwise we're going to get wiped out in 26. Okay? And even if some of them you don't get through, at least the people see you're trying to do it. They'll say, oh, we'll give them more time. And the House again. And the Senate again. All right? So, anyway. Hope that everybody has a great start to the Christmas season. I have got some shopping done already, so I'm going to see if I can convince my wife to go out a little bit because she doesn't go into work till late tomorrow morning. maybe get some Christmas shopping in. But anyway, I digress. So, like I said, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. You can follow me on my Getter at Patriot Planner, on my X at Patriot Planner 1. And if you like this video, please follow, like, and share. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night. Oh, and I'll X about the results tonight as well. I'll talk to you later.